Well, hey everyone, we are in the Catlins on the bottom of New Zealand, camping, and I'm setting up the camp, and these two are running amok.
What time is it? It's 9:40 p.m.
Are you tired, baby?
When's your bedtime?
Are you tired?
Your bedtime's 7. Hey guys, we are in the Catlins, which is a coastal rainforest at the bottom of New Zealand, and we are going to share some things that we've noticed are different between the US and New Zealand.
Alright, there's really no rhyme or reason to this list, but it's just as it comes to our mind. So the first thing that comes to my mind is the cars. There's so many of these two-door, four-wheel drive SUV cars that I've never seen in the world before. I'll try to get some B-roll of one of them just so you can see what I'm talking about, but they're everywhere.
And on the topic of cars, Nick pointed out that we have seen maybe 2 convertibles the entire 5 months that we've been here in New Zealand.
I'm sure there's convertibles here, we just haven't really seen them too much. So maybe more on the North Island where it's sunnier, but yeah, not so much on the South Island.
And a lot of the cars are imported from Japan, and so some of them, including our car, still has all of the instructions on the dashboard and the buttons all in Japanese characters, and when the screen comes up it's all in Japanese characters as well. So we've pretty much gone trial and error trying to figure out exactly how to work it.
Alright, and then for those of you who saw one of our previous videos when we bought our car, it is so easy to buy a car here. There's no DMVs or anything like that. I guess the equivalent is AA here. But I'm not really sure exactly what AA does. It seems like they do everything. So registration, car transfers, just
like the roadside assistance.
Yeah,
it's just kind of a catch-all.
They're just amazing. So
and
I think
it does not stand for Alcoholics Anonymous. It stands for Automobile Association, I think.
Yeah. And when you buy a car here, you just bring it over to AA or you bring it to the post office, which we'll explain how awesome the post office are here. But it's something like $9 to transfer the car in your name, so you don't have to change the license plates or anything like that. It's just super simple. It's very, very convenient to buy a car here.
When Nick was first looking at cars to buy in New Zealand, I told him that we at least need an SUV with some decent clearance. The main reason is that a lot of our roads, even main roads to certain attractions and things like that, are dirt gravel roads. It's not like in the States where you're definitely remote. If you have to drive on a gravel road, you can pretty much get by. But in New Zealand, you can't. You will be driving on gravel roads at some point.
Hence where we are right now, on a gravel road.
And we are in, just a main road. And our main highways are pretty much all one, 2-lane road. One way that way and one the other way. And all of our roads are very windy. We just don't have those long, straight interstates that the United States does.
Because they have the mountains here, and so they're always curving around hills and mountains and whatnot, and yeah, you definitely have to pay attention when you're driving here. And I've actually never seen these one-way bridges that they have, and they're everywhere, and you'll see these little signs that it tells you who has the right-of-way on the bridge.
There's more one-way bridges than two-way bridges.
I don't think I've ever seen a two-way bridge here, to be honest, so yeah, and there's bridges everywhere.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving on from the car stuff, returning things here. No matter what store you're at, the return policies are just different, and honestly, this is to attribute how amazing return policies are in America and how easy it is to exchange things and return things. Usually you don't need a receipt or anything, you just kind of bring it in and say, hey, I didn't, really appreciate that this had this feature, and you can return it, and either a full refund back or an exchange or store credit or something, and it's very, very simple, no questions asked. That is not the case here.
It's not, and it might be, or in fact it is, more of a cultural thing than the parent company. So a lot of New Zealand stores, will have a parent company that is US based or, elsewhere based, and it's just a cultural thing, I think. New Zealanders tend to prefer to make do or fix it themselves, or figure out a way to make it work, compared to in the US. We've just found the consumer type culture is very much there's something that I don't like about it, so I'm going to return it. And to be honest, I got very accustomed to that, and so I am missing that.
One example of that is my Arc'teryx jacket. For those of you who know, I made a video about my Arc'teryx jacket. It's a very high-end outdoors brand. And the jacket kept wetting out right after I got it. It was just very frustrating. And I got it in America, but really experienced it a month later when I was here in New Zealand. And in America, I would just send it back to Arc'teryx. They would send me a brand new one or a store credit to buy something else. Here, I sent it in to the Arc'teryx facility where they wanted to do testing on it, which is fine. They said it was gonna be 10 days. They've now had it for over 40 days. And I've emailed them, 5 times. I've received 1 response so far. It's just so different in terms of like customer service.
And he didn't get an email back, so we actually drove an hour to get to the closest store.
Just so I can walk into their building and be like, hey, what's going on?
My jacket? Yeah. Like, where is it? What's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, we just haven't emailed back. So.
Yeah. So it's just a different in culture, and that kind of goes into the tipping culture as well, how different America is versus New Zealand in terms of tipping, and it's kind of created this culture of generosity in America, which maybe isn't the right word. Maybe it's this like customer satisfaction culture in America, where that's just not really the case here.
Yeah.
And that's not be all end all. None of these are be all end alls, but in majority.
I would say that New Zealanders in general, if they're providing a service, they are very friendly, and they are
everyone's so nice
wanting
here.
to serve, and they're wanting you to be happy. However, they're also a lot more laid back. So in cafes, you get your own water. They don't serve you your water. Just little differences that we've noticed that. Yeah, just customer service type stuff is a little bit different here.
My hand just got really tired of holding the camera, so we had to go for a walk on the beach and get to a different spot and see this little one play around a little bit. But the list continues.
So, the one thing that I was actually going to add was that a lot of our, natural beauty areas are usually not super populated.
Not commercialized at all.
Yeah.
We went to Isengard from Lord of the Rings, so excited to go to Isengard. There was one little sign that said welcome to Isengard, no shops, nothing. There was literally farm animals. Yeah. I'm gonna grab her real quick. Okay. Keep talking.
But this weekend is actually an exception to that because there's a competition, like a surf life-saving competition going on. I don't know if you can see all the people there. And it's also a long weekend. It's Waitangi Day, which is like what would you equate it? It's like the signing of the treaty between the native people and the
Independence
colonies.
Day.
It's not really. It's not Independence Day. It's actually the opposite. So, all right. What else? What else, Nick?
Okay, another big difference that I've seen is conversations generally go a lot slower. And that might just be because I'm used to America and I'm used to talking fast, and Naomi, when she first came to America, she would always say I have to learn how to just butt into conversations, so that's the only way I can get something said, and it's just not done like that here. And it's nice because it is a slower paced conversation, but sometimes conversations can get a little bit awkward in my mind because I'm like, why aren't they answering? Why aren't they answering? Why aren't they answering? I have to, talk again. And then I find that I'm just talking and talking and talking and talking. And yeah, it's just a slower paced lifestyle and a slower paced communication style. And that's okay. And obviously there's a language difference as well in terms of their accent, and sometimes they'll say certain things that I don't understand what they're saying. They don't understand maybe what I'm saying. So that maybe attributes to this a little bit. Naomi probably doesn't have this same reaction that I do with the conversations. And this is rare too. It's not like this is all the time. All right, what else? Decorating.
Yes. Decorating in New Zealand is a lot more minimalist and mostly modern. I would say the newer decor that comes out is all very modern, minimalist, contemporary
sleek and
style. Yeah. And we found that the traditional.
Oh no! What happened?
Might have hit her head.
I don't actually know what happened.
She was on the ground, so I think she just hit her head.
We'll have to go back to the tape and see what happened there. But yeah, and so decorations, it's just a lot different. I would say a normal American decorated house. New Zealanders generally, when I show a house of one of our previous houses or something like that, they'll say, oh, you had a Hampton style house. I've never heard that in my life, Hampton style, but it's a term that they use here a lot, and it's a specific house style, but it's honestly normal America. Like that's what I attribute to Hampton style. So yeah, Hampton style housing's a thing here, mainly because it's just not modern and sleek like everything else is. And so yeah, that's the main difference there. It's gorgeous, like I love all the modern stuff. It's just interesting to see how everything's modern. I think it's just easier to build that way as well. And yeah, everything's super contemporary. It's really nice.
And so that brings us to our next point, which is communications. So
Just very different.
it is very different. So for example, like I tried to call a large-ish company here.
Literally,
So
it's Target.
Target furniture. They don't have the same
So it's an
Target.
off-brand of Target, but it's
Yeah.
literally the same logo,
It's
everything.
Target. And I called them and it was after hours and I got just a generic voicemail.
We are closed.
It wasn't like a Target,
That
it
was
wasn't
it.
an answering service, nothing. No opportunity to leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
Just we are closed. Beep, that was it. Like, yeah.
So it's just so different from America because it's all about capturing that lead and
Yeah.
turning it into a sale, and it's just so different there. And it leads into like, it's a good thing to be honest because there's such a difference in work-life balance. Where like they are all about that work-life balance, and obviously America's not quite like that. I would say Americans like I'm kind of prideful about like how much we work. And I think it's kind of cool, but obviously there's a negative aspect to that as well. So it's interesting, you know, me working in the mortgage industry and working with real estate agents in America, it is a key. You have to answer your phone 24/7, no matter what. If you don't answer, you have to call back within the minute.
And if you don't answer, they'll go somewhere else.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
just what it is.
Yeah.
And that's just the culture in America. We're here. I remember when we were first looking at a house, we contacted probably 5 or 6 different real estate agents. Not one answered. I left voicemails on every single one. Not one even replied my call. One person, I had emailed them all as well. None of them emailed me back. One of them eventually emailed me back and said, hey, we're not working on the weekends. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, we don't work weekends.
And it was just like, whoa.
it was
In America, that's
Tuesday-
like when you work in
and
real
it was
estate.
Tuesday afternoon. It's not like it was 9 a.m. Monday morning. No.
It was a couple
Tuesday
days later they
afternoon.
emailed me that.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
they
just
didn't-
so different.
They didn't respond to your questions or
Yeah,
anything.
nothing.
It was literally an email saying, we don't work weekends. Like,
Yeah. And then we've heard, and you know, obviously we haven't experienced this, but we've heard in Queenstown where we're at, when it's like a really good fresh snow day, like a lot of the employers say like, hey, it's too nice of a day, get on the mountains and go skiing or snowboarding and stuff like that, and they'll give them half days, and it's just like such a different work-life balance.
and back to the communications topic, I forgot. Literally, when we were in quarantine, I had to get in contact with like a department of the government. I think it was the health department. And I was trying to figure out how to, and it just was like a normal number. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll try this. I called, and they were pretty much just like, hello, this is the government. Like, so I just called the government, and then like
It's funny, that's how they answer. This is
Yeah.
the government.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, who am I talking to? The government.
Yeah.
It's just
And so,
awesome.
like in the States, I don't even know if there's a number you can call.
There's millions and
You're,
millions
like,
and millions of
in this
people, and
waiting
so-
list to get an appointment, to talk to a person, and you have to like drive into a major city to get that appointment
Yeah.
and wait for hours. So
And it's like all these automated things and
Yeah,
everything like that
everything,
to
yep.
get that.
Yep.
Here it's just like they pick up, this is the government, how can we help? So another thing we're kind of noticing is, you know, it's not the be all end all, but the majority of people like to live in communities, and it's generally like the farmers that live out in like the boondocks or out in like rural areas. And there are a lot of amazing farmers and everything like that, but it's just interesting because in America you live in a community, and this isn't everyone, but you live in a community until you can get out and get your own property and live more
in the
secluded.
suburbs or,
Yeah.
yeah, even like further than the suburbs.
Yeah, so it's just a little difference that we've seen.
More like estate type living where it's like 6+ acres and just you're kind of, yeah.
Yeah, where it seems like living in a small knit neighborhood is more of the ideal here, and it's just kind of a different difference in that aspect. And then farm animals. There's farm animals everywhere, and it's not just like specific farm areas. Like in America, you drive and you're like, okay, I'm obviously in a farming community. No, they're everywhere. There is sheep
You
literally
stand
everywhere.
At any point in New Zealand, and pretty much you can guarantee that if you turn around, you'll see a farm.
I'm like looking out in the distance right now. There is sheep in those hills right now, and so there's just sheep everywhere. And that's regardless if you're in like national parks or national forests or like, you know, anywhere. There's gonna be farm animals.
Farmable pasture land. Majority of the time, it's pasture land farmed. Yeah.
And then it seems like because there's more of these like close knit towns and cities and communities, cell phone coverage is amazing in those areas, and usually there's fiber optics internet, which is like super fast internet. I don't think I've ever seen fiber optics in America. It seems to be like in all like the major areas here in New Zealand, which is really fast, just super fast internet. But when you're outside of those areas, the internet is generally a lot slower and there's a lot less cell phone coverage.
Majority of the time non-existent.
Yeah, and usually there's no cell phone coverage or anything like that. Where in America, it's very rare if we would be in an area where there's no cell phone coverage.
You'd have to be like in a mountain range. Yeah, which maybe that makes sense. Why?
There's a lot of mountain ranges here. All right, moving on to housing. It's very different in terms of renting a house here. I would say it's a lot easier because in America, and again, I might be wrong, it's not the be all end all, but generally speaking, you don't see anything less than a 1-year rental term. Here, they do like week by week rental terms, month by month, quarterly by quarterly, 6 month. I would say like every 3 months is a very standard rental term. That's what we just had. And then they're like, hey, would you like to do 6 months?
In different areas too, but.
And then it's interesting too, they do rent by week. And so you don't pay at the end of the month, you actually pay week by week, which actually is interesting because there's like a little bit of capitalism in there because they actually make more money throughout the whole year if someone's renting week by week, because 52 weeks in a year divided by 12, they actually get, 1 or 2 extra weeks as opposed to just giving 12 monthly payments throughout the year. So that's kind of interesting. And then there's a lot of rentals that are fully furnished. When I say a lot, like I would say like probably half of the rentals that you look are fully furnished. And so you don't kind of really need your own furniture, which is very interesting as well. In America, like you always get a moving truck and you would move it into the new rental place or the new house that you bought or something like that. And yeah, fully furnished rentals is a very real thing here.
And a lot of Kiwis love a certain type of ice cream, which is real fruit ice creams, which is like ice cream blended together with frozen berries, and it's just the bomb. So like
we saw it one time in Portland.
Yeah, exactly. There's one place in Portland that we found it in the States, but nowhere else. And in New Zealand, it's just like there's just these little like either caravans or just these little shacks, and they'll have this sign out saying real fruit ice cream. So. And
then one thing that we found is like the big snack food is meat pies. And so it's not like chicken pot pies, it's like handheld like minced meat pies, which I guess is ground beef pies here.
Yeah.
And then there's like obviously little word
like
idiosyncrasies as well. So yeah, meat pie culture.
Another big difference, in the States, Nick and I really tried to eat organic as much as we could, and we pretty much had our pick. Like everywhere we went had a pretty good range of organic, clean food.
And the reason we would go organic, because in America, at least for what we saw, it's generally 2 options. You're going organic or you're going like pretty like chemically
heavy on the pesticides,
yeah,
GMO,
and pretty
that kind of
pretty
stuff.
rough. And so in terms of the quality of the food,
and like the processed food, there's just a lot of artificial and very highly processed, like your high fructose corn syrup and just stuff that's made in a lab, not on a farm.
Yep.
In New Zealand, we rarely find organic food.
There
like,
is,
it is
but it's
hard,
very different.
It's hard to find. Usually you're going to farmers markets, but even then, like, I mean, they don't really have organic either. Most of them just say spray free or something.
And what we found is that in America we have the extremes. Really, really good organic food or really, really bad food. Here it's just kind of the middle ground, like everything's pretty good.
Yeah, people don't feel the need to really strive for organic because most of the food is a lot cleaner. Like our mainstream quality is a lot cleaner. And so like, for example, I'm pretty sure the majority of meat in the US is feedlot raised, I guess. In New Zealand, there's, I think, 1 feedlot, and the rest is grass-fed. A lot of them are grain finished or whatever. And it's actually funny, like people...
They like grain finished.
They look for grain-fed meat.
Because everything's grass-fed here,
yeah,
and so it's unique to have grain-fed.
Yep, and I think it is a little more tender and just a different taste, so...
One thing that I found really funny, kind of interesting, is how easy it is to transfer money from one bank account to another bank account, whether it's yours or like someone else's completely different bank account. Everyone just has unique bank numbers, which is the same in America, but you can literally just transfer X amount of dollars from your bank to their bank through every single bank.
And it's been that way my entire life.
Yeah,
like,
that's not a thing in America. In America, obviously, we have to use, that's the reason PayPal is so big, because you have to use PayPal or Venmo or the Cash App. So like there's these third-party things that have started to do, or like Zelle, like these third-party things that we in America have started to be able to transfer money from one bank to another bank using a third-party system. But in New Zealand, it's every bank. Every bank. You can just transfer one bank to another bank for free. It's just a normal thing.
And another huge difference between the US and New Zealand is the healthcare. I could go on and on and on about this, being, you know, working in the
nurse,
industry. Yeah. So healthcare in New Zealand is by and large free healthcare. So if I get injured, it's covered. If Nick gets injured, it's covered. We just go into hospital and you walk out and don't even think twice about a bill. For Nikita, like doctor's visits, anything under the age of 18 is 100% free. Vaccinations, all free, everything's covered. For us, I think we have to pay like maybe a $30 fee if we go into the doctor, but if we go to hospital, everything's covered. So
and then not only that, but like medications that you have to get or anything like that, it's like $2, $3. It's like extremely cheap.
Yeah, there's certain ones that aren't, but the majority of like medications that people really need are covered. And like if you fall off a mountain, like, you know, and a helicopter needs to come and pick you up, that's
the helicopter's free.
Like everything's free. So it is very, very nice. With that said, if I wanted an elective surgery, that would not be free. I would have to go through
a long process,
and
it's expensive and a lot of waiting.
So if people want elective surgery, the majority of people will have some sort of private health insurance that they'll pay for to help cover some of those costs. But otherwise, it's just a longer process, very long waiting lists. So. And another big difference is having a baby here. It's all very midwife based. So typically, unless you're extremely high risk, and need like a C-section, the rest of births are all dealt with by midwives, and all of your prenatal and postnatal care is all midwife based. Whereas in America, it's very much obstetrician based, and midwife based birth would be more the exception, or like if you wanted to go to like a birth center, that would be different
than just going to a hospital.
Yeah.
Not only that, but again, the cost of healthcare here, if you're gonna have a baby here in New Zealand, it is
free!
Where in America, we had like the best health insurance of any health insurance, and it still cost us like almost
8 grand.
Yeah, almost 10 grand. So
and
yeah, it was
normal.
really expensive.
Yeah.
We, like every single friend we talked to, they're like, you only paid that much? It's like, oh my goodness. In America, obviously, we're right next to Mexico, and we get a lot of amazing Mexican food. Our quesadillas and burritos and all of it. It's just incredible. We love our Mexican food in America. They don't really have Mexican food here. We know one
We think we do. That's the thing. We think we have Mexican food. We don't have Mexican food. It is like...
It'll be like a burrito place, but it's like, what is this?
It's like a fusion of like Kiwi, Mexican, but it really isn't anything like the authentic Mexican that we have back at the States.
But what they do have here is incredible Asian food and incredible Indian food, because you got to think like, all right, India and Asia is right there next to New Zealand, so like, yeah, it just makes sense. And the food, honestly, I don't think I've ever really had Indian food until I came here. It's incredible. It's so, so good. If any of you have never had naan bread, cheese naan, and buttered chicken, get it. It is so good. It sounds so horrible, buttered chicken, but it's so amazing. And that's probably not even real Indian food either. Every Indian who's listening to this, they're like, come on. But
I think that's
it's
like
incredible.
That was like the British version of Indian food.
It's so good. Yeah. All right, as they're going in the water there, I'll end this with camping. Camping seems very different, but realistically, maybe I just don't know how camping's always done in America. It seems like here in New Zealand, you have to have a designated camping spot. It's called freedom camping when you are not in a designated camping spot, and which is generally illegal, you know, nationwide. And it's just very interesting how like everyone follows these rules of camping, which is great. I love it. Where in America, maybe it's a little bit more less structured in terms of like, okay, if you're walking through the forest and there's an area that looks like a place you can set up your tent, generally you can set up your tent. And obviously different areas have different restrictions, but it seems like nationwide. But it seems like nationwide in New Zealand, there is definite designated camping spots, and that's what we're gonna do tonight. We are gonna be finding a camping spot, setting up our tent, and enjoying the rest of the Catlins, and we're gonna see.
If you are on like a reasonably long hike in like a national park, usually, actually just no, there's still designated campsites.
Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. We are gonna get a camp spot and go camping with the little one, and we're really excited for that. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any thoughts on this, leave it in the comments below. like the video, subscribe to our channel if you have not already. We appreciate you all so much. Please keep us in your prayers. Let us know if there's anything we can pray for you about, and hope you all are having a very blessed day.
And honestly, we could make this video a whole lot longer because there are so many differences, but leave a comment below if you've also noticed any differences between New Zealand and the US. We'd love to hear it.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye. We love you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
This little one is so happy to be home. Where are you going? Whoa! Hehehe